Hi, welcome back to StoryHive On Location Kelowna. I'm Rob O'Day, and we're on location in Kelowna with another episode brought to you with support from TELUS STORYHIve. We're in Kelowna talking with Harley Knife, a local indigenous animator, event speaker, and all-around creative genius.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to be here.
I'm excited to dive into your story and break the mind of an animator. So
Yeah.
let's hop in with who you are, where you're from, how you got into animating.
Yeah, my name's obviously Harley Knife. I hail from Ahtahkakoop Cree Nation under Treaty 6 territory. I've lived in the Okanagan since 2002. I grew up in and out of the Canadian foster care system. It's been a wild ride. And how did I get into animation? It was a episode of Sailor Moon back in the 90s. There's an episode where a character got turned into a demon, but before that, the character was really into making cartoons. And that was my first realization that cartoons were made by people. So I used that as kind of like my motivation to get into the arts of animation.
That's pretty mind-blowing. So what initially got you into animating was realizing that an animated show was animating itself, and you're like,
yeah,
people make this.
Oh, for sure. Like
That's crazy.
Wild, right? Like before that, it was just moving pictures and colors and boops and beeps, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then once you see behind the curtain, it's like, oh, the Wizard of Oz is just a dude. And that's kind of how it worked out for me. Yeah.
It's a good way to look at it. And animation is a very hard art form to get into, whether you're hand drawing it or, like we were talking prior, it's like I've attempted to use Blender, which is 3D animating, and it's a whole other ballgame in a creative manner.
Yeah.
What really captivated you about animating versus becoming like a filmographer or being an artist who draws?
I believe it started with working with clay and Play-Doh and making characters, and then using action figures to tell these stories as a kid. And I was really good at telling stories, at least for myself. Because like growing up in the Canadian foster care system, there's a lot of isolation and personal isolation that happens with that. And I would use these characters and TV shows and movies and cartoons as like a getaway for that. So telling my own stories to get out of the crazy, hectic environment I was in, storytelling was kind of just a natural pathway for me. So when it came to choosing animation as a medium, it was super simple because it's just moving characters and making them believable as to what real life is. I'm pretty sure that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. And storytelling is one thing. And like I'm a total geek for fantasy books and sci-fi books. And the storytelling aspect is an amazing thing that I think, especially nowadays, is kind of overlooked. Not as many people read because they're so focused on watching the reels and stuff. And I think that imagination is a very important thing. And when you're kind of isolated, like you said, and you're growing up and it's just you, kind of every possibility there is no and like limitations to what you can create when you have nothing but imagination.
Yeah, you just let it take you away to a different place. And then obviously growing up on the reserve, there was like hectic times with that and ups and downs, and again that was my escape, was cartoons and that medium.
Yeah, I can imagine. I have a lot of friends on the Penticton Reserve, so I grew up with a lot of indigenous friends, and yeah, you can definitely see that there's so much going on in there that it's hard for arts to almost get out. And we spoke with an indigenous artist, Winona Paul. I don't know if you've ever met her.
I don't think I have.
She's from Penticton, and she draws. Easiest way for me is Okanagan Haida. Easiest way to describe her artwork. Okay. So she is basically, and during our interview with her, we kind of had this weird epiphany that she is the one who's creating the local indigenous art that is going to last in history. Yeah. Because it isn't here. There is no indigenous art that is local.
Yeah.
And it's it's not cool to see. It's amazing to see that you took struggle, pain, and hardship and turned it into this beautiful thing that is now a lifestyle.
It definitely is a lifestyle. Yeah. I can definitely understand that, and I kind of feel those feelings too, because I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to figure out what my art style is, and it wasn't till doing local Comic Cons and selling my art and stuff where people were coming up to me and telling me, "Oh, I love your style. Like it's such a style," and I kept hearing that, and when you hear that enough times, you eventually take a step back and look at what you've created, and you see like, oh, I do have a style, and this is me, and it's been there this whole time. I've been so preoccupied on perfection that I didn't see the flowers in front of me.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's a super inspiring story, and I think that I love these are my favorite stories of getting to sit with people. Is growing up from what I like to say, not like the hardest background, but I didn't have to, definitely didn't have an easy one with our family. Definitely had struggles, and being like a European family who came over, big family, really poor. So it's always my favorite thing to speak with people who have stories that are very similar, because I don't think people realize you will understand it, but you won't understand what you're capable of doing unless you've hit rock bottom or seen the absolute worst.
Oh yeah. I like to look at it like the biggest personal growth within yourself comes from those moments of extreme dauntlessness, where it feels like the weight is on your shoulders. You can either sink or swim. I tend to sink for a little bit and stay there, and then I realize like there's a way out of this. There's always a way out of it, and working out of that, that's where you start being reflective, introspective, and you start thinking about the ways you can swim through this big river that you're in and grasp onto rocks and get onto land for a little bit before you go back down the river a bit more and find a different village and all that. That's a weird way of looking at it, but that's what comes to mind for me right now. But
I can see the storyteller in you come
Yeah.
out when you're passionate about something.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I feel that that's like a common thing among people who are very creative, is like you spark that interest in them and they're just like the fire burns, and it's an amazing thing. Over the time from like realizing, oh, I really enjoy animation, cartoons, and storytelling, what was the point that you actually physically started creating animations of your own?
It would be my story is basically moving back and forth from the reserve back to living in BC, back to the reserve in Saskatchewan. One of those times where I was back on the reserve, I was living with my grandma, otherwise known as my Cookum in Cree. I'd have Post-it notes, and I would sit with my buddy Jordan Sasakamoose, and we would just make animations out of the Post-it notes, because you can use them like a flip book, right? And we would make like stick figures, just skateboarding, doing kick flips and manuals, and just stupid things like a character throwing a rock across the Post-it note, hitting another character, and it flying and just breaking the fourth wall and jumping through. It was just wild stuff we did with Post-it notes, and it kind of just, again, it's set like its roots in me of what animation is, and that's the basic form of animation is Post-it notes. Yeah.
I love it. I did that as a kid too, so it's kind of funny to see that that's where it started, because everyone can do that, and it kind of shows that like you're very capable of doing whatever.
Oh yeah.
If you just put your mind to it.
Even before that, using like the science book, like the corner of the science book, and just flipping that. I'm not saying everyone should use a science book to do animation, but there's an option. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Excuse me.
with animating, how did you? This will be like a topic that I will dive into a little bit more. But how did you initially get into it as like a job and doing that?
I think because of my upbringing, and then being in high school and being a teenager and being scared of the future, I I was more scared of the present than I was the future, because the present meant, again, going in and out of the foster care system, the troublesome times that we had living at home. I would focus on the future because I wanted out of those situations, right? So at a very early age, I knew, like after figuring out what animation is and who it was that was making these cartoons, I decided that this could be my career. And I knew at like the age of 16, this is what I wanted to do. So I basically spent my whole time in the art room at school in Seton in Vernon. And I met a teacher there, Miss Thompson, Shelley Thompson, who's an amazing teacher. She kind of like helped me focus on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be, and kind of like align me with that path. Because I kept telling her, like, I want to make cartoons for a living. And when I would tell people that in elementary school, I was always hit with like, oh, you're never going to do that. You're not a good artist. There's no way you can, to be an animator, you have to be like a great artist. And enough people telling me this stuff, I'm just going to eventually go against the grain, right? And Miss Thompson kind of like, at that time I was just drawing anime all the time, and she would be like, anime is a great career, but there are other things, and like if you want to like progress, maybe you want to try focus on something else. I'm like, I don't know who I am without anime. Thankfully, it came to grade 12. I didn't have enough credits to graduate, and that's because I was moving back and forth from BC to Saskatchewan. So I didn't have enough credits. But then, because Miss Thompson was married to the principal, I think, I don't know if this is true, but I think she put in like a good word to like the principal. Was like, this kid knows what he wants to do with life. He's got it figured out. I wasn't going to graduate. I didn't have enough credits. So I went and had a meeting with the principal, and I explained to him, like, this is what I want to do. I want to go to school for animation. I want to make cartoons for a living. And I was so driven and focused on that. I feel like he could feel like the passion. So he's like, okay. He's went over to his computer, started typing. He's like, oh, you have credits here, credits there from Saskatchewan that didn't carry over. So I think I did have enough credits to graduate. It didn't work out that way. Mm-hmm. But we figured it out. Boom, I'm graduating. As soon as we knew that, Miss Thompson helped me figure out scholarships and bursaries, and ended up graduating with 6 scholarships from like a bunch of, I can't remember the names of the people that I got scholarships from, which is kind of bad, but and if I can jump back a little bit, to getting one of these scholarships, we had to enter like a competition where a bunch of kids are in a gymnasium showing off their passion and what they want to do, and different people who give away scholarships come through and they decide who gets these scholarships. And they got to me, and I had to explain myself and pitch myself to these people, right? And with it came, I know exactly what school I wanted to go to. It's the Art Institute of Vancouver. And I think having that figured out, and the passion that I was like giving off, I wanted to say stinking off, but I was giving off. I feel like that really showed that like I knew what I wanted to do, right? So I graduated with 6 scholarships, got accepted into the Art Institute of Vancouver. Long story short, got to Vancouver. The day I was supposed to start, I didn't have my funding figured out, so I had to drop out of the Art Institute of Vancouver. So I didn't go to the Art Institute of Vancouver.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. That was a long-winded story, but that gives a little bit of backstory on how I got to where I am.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you end up going to school afterwards?
Yes.
Or, yeah?
It took a long time to do that. Took working at Tim Hortons, took working at A&W, Famous Players, which is now Cineplex. And then I worked construction for 3 or 4 years. It might have been 2, actually. And I actually helped build the bridge, the new bridge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we built like 5,000 trusses of the same truss. It was brutal and annoying. But because of that job, I was like, what the heck am I doing? Like, I'm not doing what I set out to do. I need to figure this out. So I reached out to the Friendship Center in Vernon, And we figured out that there is an animation school within Kelowna called the Center for Arts and Technology. Applied there, got in. This time, having the knowledge of not getting my funding figured out, I planned like crazy. It took a lot of work, took a lot of like sleepless nights just to get the funding figured out. But thankfully, I was able to work with my band in Saskatchewan, Ahtahkakoop Cree Nation, and the Silks Nation band here. They both co-funded my tuition for Center for Arts and Technology, so I was able to go. It was extremely hard and extremely difficult for that 2 years because a lot of things happened, but got my foot in the door. Really, what it did. So yeah,
Love that. That's super inspiring, and definitely love to hear that. You see the partnering to help benefit.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I think part of the reason why I didn't get the funding for my tuition for the Art Institute was it was just too expensive, and at the time, the band couldn't justify investing in the arts at the time because most bands, this just from experience, tend to want to push towards like safer jobs, like trades and stuff like
Sustainable,
that. Right?
yeah.
Yeah, and arts is kind of like looked down upon in that realm of like work. At least at the time it was. I think it's a bit different now. But finding out like, oh, someone else is willing to invest in my future, let's give it a try, and it worked out.
I love that. I've never thought of the actual behind the scenes of how that would work with having a band, and it's basically a self-running government within a government, right? Like, so they have to make those decisions. It's not they can just hand out.
Exactly.
They have X amount of money for specific things. I never thought of it that way.
There is funding for post-secondary education, but it's a like application process. You have to apply for it. It goes to a board, and if you show that you're passionate and that's what you want to do, you have all your ducks in a row for it, there's a high likelihood you get the funding for it. But if you're just applying for it just for the whim of it and you're not really focused on what you want, you might get declined, which happened to me, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So over your career as an animator, we dove into it a little bit, but what was your biggest personal struggle? Not career struggle, but personal struggle to overcome in becoming a professional animator?
It would have to be what I was talking about within the 2 years that I was at Center for Arts and Technology. The first year, my older brother passed away. And then it was just I was so focused on my goal of getting into this industry, and I felt like if I took time to stop and grieve, that I would fall behind. So he passed away, and I just pushed those feelings inside, and I just didn't deal with them. And then going into my second year, my little sister passed away, and all those feelings that I was feeling with my brother passing away that I didn't deal with resurfaced there. But I was so close to my goal of just graduating, which after that was supposed to be work and animating, right? I pushed those feelings in, and I didn't deal with them. And then comes graduation time, greatest time of my life. The chief brought my whole family down from the reserve for my graduation. I was gifted a star blanket for it. It was an awesome experience. And then I graduated, and you have this dream of like, I'm going to get a job right away. And within the Okanagan at the time, there wasn't that big of an animation industry. So I was just waiting. And part of the waiting was the depression that I was pushing deep down, right? I got a job at Walmart, worked there for 3 months, and then at that end of the 3 months, the realization that I'm not getting a job right now. I didn't deal with these traumas that I pushed away. They all came to the surface all at once, and it was the lowest of low moments. I had to move back to Vernon. One of the biggest things you find with urban indigenous people that is they usually don't have a failsafe to fall back on. You don't have family members you can go live with in the city. It's half the time it's moving back to the reserve and picking up where you left off, right? For me, that was not an option. I couldn't do that because I still had something to prove to not only myself, but my family back home and the reserve. And being indigenous, there's like this weight that there's an expectation that you're supposed to be successful and you're supposed to do great things. At least for me, that's the expectation I put on myself. So I went through a crazy depression, the trauma of not dealing with my family members passing on. It was just, when it all hits you, you're at your lowest moment, right? I just wasn't doing well, but I still kind of was swimming in that river trying to get out, right? So I take odd jobs. I did painting houses for a bit, and I came to a turning point where I was either gonna paint houses for a living and go full bore into that and start a company, or try again. And it came to one morning, I had this weird dream where some crazy things happened in the dream, but it made me introspective within my dream. And then I woke up crying and I was like, what the heck? So I was like, I need to run. I just need to get out of here. So I got up, ran to the door, and my roommate, Tico Thor, he was putting his boots on, getting ready to go to work at like 5 a.m. And he's like, what are you doing? You're never up this early. I'm like, I just need to go. I need to run. So I booked it out the door. I just ran. I ran for what I felt was like half an hour, but was probably like 5 minutes because I'm not a good runner. But I ended up at the top of this hill, and I felt the weight of everything, and I felt like I just needed to let it go. So I just sat on the top of this hill and I just cried. And then eventually I ran out of tears. And then I just started asking the universe or whoever would listen, like, I just need help. I need answers for this, all this stuff that's happening, and I just need it to work. And I basically asked the universe for help is what it is. And dust myself off, walked back down the hill, got back home. And a week later, my best friend from college, Sven Gregory, he calls me up and he's like, hey man, you met Todd Ramsey and Ashley Ramsey while you were at Center for Arts Technology. Todd Ramsey was one of my 2D animation teachers, and Ashley Ramsey was Todd's wife, who was also doing stuff behind the scenes within the tech industry. He said they just started an animation company called Yeti Farm Creative. You should call them and see if you can get an interview. I was like, oh, no way. Called Ashley Ramsey and was like, hey, could I come in for an interview? I'd love to like just talk to you about animation. I go in the next week, resume in my hand, and I was like, I would do anything to be in this industry. I'll make the coffee, I'll sweep the floors, I'll just do anything. And she knew me from Center for Arts Technology, and she also could tell that I was like passionate. Passion was the thing. But not in like an overbearing passion. It was just like, this is what I need to do. Not what I want to do. This is what I need to do. I need it more than air. She was like, yeah, we'll find something for you to do on Monday. Just come in. I was like, okay. For her, it was just like a simple, okay. I walked out the door. For me, it was like that scene from that Will Smith movie. What's it called?
I Pursued Happiness?
Yes. Where he walks out and he starts clapping.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like. And the reason why it felt like that is because I was still holding the resume that I had in my hands. I didn't even need to give her my resume. It was just, that's what it was. And it felt like I was on the right path. And it actually didn't feel like, I knew I was on the right path. This is where I was supposed to be. And that got me my foot in the door for working in animation. Pretty wild. Yeah.
It is. You have an amazing story, and yeah, it's one of those, the universe gave it to you, and I'm a big believer in manifestation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I hit 30, I was in a crazy depression, mm-hmm. didn't know what I was going to do with myself, and did the same thing. Mm-hmm. I asked the universe, I need something that's going to allow me to be a single dad and raise a child and be able to take care of things. And I don't know how it happened, but this career and lifestyle that I'm in now has slowly just built itself. And I forget to often like sit back and look at the accomplishments, because like you mentioned earlier, like you had to stay focused on the future because the present is too detrimental to focus on. And I've lived like that forever. And I feel like, do you ever feel that now that you're out of the struggle, you're still naturally susceptible to thinking about the future only because that is all you've known, is like how to be better?
Yeah.
And make it like, I find I struggle with that daily. It's just taking that to step back to, and like, especially now as parents, to like look where you were and where you are and just be like, wow.
I feel like it's a feeling of it could be taken away just like that. It's too good to be true. Excuse me. It's way too good to be true. And especially growing up like we grew up, it's too easy to feel like you could go back to that, and you don't want to go back to that. There was a time where when I was working for Yeti Farm, I worked for them for 8 years, and at the end of the 8 years, I felt myself become complacent. I felt stagnant within my own career, and it made me wonder, like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? It's because I worked for 8 years, and I worked so hard to get there, especially to get to a point where I'm competent within my field, and I know how to do my job. Something was wrong. A lot of things were wrong, actually. With that success comes a lot of things that you need to deal with personally. Obviously, it's not just I got to where I'm at. I beat the video game, and I turn it off and go to the next thing. It's like there's DLC constantly coming in, and you have to keep working at it. So at that 8 years, I had my first kid, and I was confused, and I felt lost because I didn't know what it meant to be a parent, because I wasn't raised by parents. I was raised by a residential school survivor and a single mom who was always fighting with the government to keep her kids, right? So when I became a parent and everything was fine, I felt confused by that, and that was generational trauma that I hadn't been dealing with. So that's where I finally accepted the idea of counseling and therapy, and I was at my lowest again, and I was successful. It was so confusing. Thankfully, my wife was there for me every step of the way. Her and I were able to figure out a counselor that I could go to, and I had this fear that a therapist was going to tell me how to feel and how to think, and I didn't. As like a skater and like an artist, I felt like that was wrong. That was weird, right? I couldn't get past that idea, and that's part of the reason why I didn't go to a therapist for so long. But then when I did, I realized it wasn't that. It was nothing like that. It was like someone giving you the tools to like figure it out for yourself, but they're there to like pass you an oar and like help you build the boat while you're in the river, right? And it was a wild experience, but then it led me to realize that I need to scare myself, and what that meant was not renewing my contract within Yeti Farm, leaving the nest kind of thing, right? I applied for a job at Titmouse, Vancouver. I got the job, and I also got a contract for Yeti Farm, and I had to turn the contract down at Yeti Farm, and I was so scared to go and talk to Todd and Ashley, because these guys were like my parents in a sense, and I just said, you know what, they'd want the best for me, so why not just tell them that? So I did. I went to Ashley and Todd's office, and I was like, this is what's happening. I'm not working on myself. I need to do this for myself. And they were just so supportive. They're like, yeah, you need to do what you need to do. Like, just do it. And I was scared of like them being like, oh, you leaving us. But it wasn't that. It was sometimes just facing your fears is the best option. Running away from your fears leaves you scared of what that future might be, as opposed to just facing it head on. And then I've been with Titmouse for 4 years now. It's been awesome. It's been cool.
It's amazing. And over your career as an animator, is there a specific project that has been your favorite?
Frog and Toad. I grew up with those books. I didn't really read them because I wasn't that great at reading as a kid. And I didn't have, again, parenting, not really there. So there wasn't really anybody there to read to me. So I would look at the pictures. And I think that is too part of the reason why I became an animator. Is because I was always looking at pictures and I was animating those pictures in my head because there was no one reading me, telling me what the story was, right? So I'd make up these stories in my head. Wild just to think of that right now. But yeah, Frog and Toad, to have worked on that was so freaking cool. The production team, everything was perfect. The production team was all chill, relaxed. We all had this general idea, like we want to push out the best thing we can. And I think when you watch the show on Apple TV, you get this sense of like calmness and like, oh, this is like really chill. I liked watching this, and it's like feels like the books really. Very proud of that. The second thing I would say is working on a movie, which that was always part of like one of my goals. Like, oh, I want to work on a movie and see my name in the credits, and it was Baby Shark's big movie, which was really cool. I mean, there was a K-pop band on it. There were sharks. It's just really wild stuff I got to work on. Because it came out like during COVID, or just a little bit after COVID. So like it only played in 2 theaters, one in Vancouver and in Korea, I think. But that's fine. I still made a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are my 2 biggest accomplishments, I think.
That's crazy to think too, because kids are just absolutely obsessed with Baby Shark, especially when they're young. Is like when they're all grown up and they're like, yeah,
oh yeah,
Dad's name's in there. That's pretty cool.
My kids love the show. They don't like it when I watch it with them because they're like, oh, I worked on that scene. That's my scene.
It's like when you're driving around with a dad who does construction.
Totally.
I built that house.
Yes.
I built that house.
Yeah. Well, I do that with the bridge too, actually.
Yeah, I do it as well. And I'm like, I never had a dad. And I'm just like, I think it's just a natural thing that just comes as soon as you become a dad. It's like, oh, I built that. I built that. You know what I mean?
Like theory that like kids are always like, they're known to like be afraid of snakes or anything that looks like a snake. It's like us. We're just born. It's born into our genetic code to like, I made that bridge. I built that fence. True. Yeah.
There's a lot of incredible points that you bring up, and I think there's a lot of like eye-opening things for me as well that I relate to heavily. And I think that especially when you're faced, like you said earlier, you're faced with hard times and you're born as a survivor and a person who has to like survive through every aspect of your life from a young age. It kind of makes you quick on your feet. Extremely quick on your feet when detrimental times happen or bad things happen. You're able to cope a lot quicker than people who were, I don't want to say given everything, because it's not really the proper way to say it, but people who had a better stability, a stable foundation. I find it seems to hit them a little harder than people who have always had to like climb up the hill versus just being propped on the top.
I feel like it's a mental checklist of like, these are the bad things that are going to happen. Be ready for them constantly. It's a high anxiety mentality growing up, because that's all my life was, just anxiety. And then once you're safe, anxiety, like safe feels uncomfortable because you're used to the anxiety at that point.
I was just talking about that the other day. It's as a hip hop artist, and a musician, I tend to write. Music has always been my escape. So like when I'm having a hard time, I'll write something that helps me feel better, and then I can either give it to the world or put it aside. And I've realized like the lyrical content in my hip hop has to be based around inspiration. And like I can only write those kind of things when I'm in a hard point in my life or struggling. So like I recently released an album, first one in like 11 years, and it was just because it was an album based around everything that happened in those 11 years. But now that I've like let it go and there's nothing wrong and I'm holding on to emotionally, I'm like, I have no inspiration to write.
Is the well empty?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I feel really uncomfortable, like having spare time and like not putting on shows. I've got time for the family, and I'm like constantly like feel antsy. Like I've got to be doing something. And that's where it's like, I think constantly being stuck focused on the future is very difficult to like take a step back when you're stuck in that mentality.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, if you stopped, would the ball stop rolling? Right? And you were kind of saying that you're afraid to fall into the pit again. And I feel like that's kind of a reoccurring thing through artists. And I think that's why we're constantly pushing not only ourselves as people, but as creatives.
Yeah.
And you touched on a very valid point that I think a lot of males especially aren't willing to admit, is going to counseling.
Yeah.
And how helpful it is. Because when I first went to counseling, my initial thought when being told I need a counselor was, I don't need help.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm a man, I got to man up, I got to take care of this as a man and be a man. That term, as the older I get, I realize like that man up concept is it can go both ways. It can be when you're being too whiny, man up is a good thing, but it's like when you're supposed to feel emotions too.
Yeah.
So you can't suppress that just because you've got to be strong. Like, being strong means accepting all feelings, not just suppressing them. And I think it's a very like inspiring thing to hear. That's like, yeah, I went to counseling and it made me a better person. I feel we need more people who are willing to admit that counselors are needed, especially with male mental health, because it is very, I want to say, taboo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially for our age range. Like, it's a lot more accepted now with the younger generations. They are understanding of, okay, being emotional is not a bad thing, and expressing emotion is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
For us, it was, you don't express emotion. You don't show weakness.
Yeah.
Because that's when they'll pry on it.
Yeah.
And it's coming from that background to where it is, and being an artist in a thriving industry. Do you find that gives you almost an upper hand because you are a fighter and you thrive?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because there's
Pardon me?
anybody who works in the creative industry knows that revisions are a thing. Critique is a thing. You cannot have a thin skin when you are working in this industry, because criticism is part of the game. It is the game, really, because the end goal is to push a product that is at its best. And if it's not to the standard, you're going to get called out on it. Which comes with another thing of, don't fall in love with your work. I constantly remind myself that, because every time that I've been like, this is the best animation I did, there's no way this is going to have revisions. Laundry list of revisions. I'm like, dang. But then there's times where I'm like, oh man, this isn't that great. There's no way I'm going to get a laundry list of, and then you hand it in. It just goes through. That's it. And there's like, you gotta find that fine line in between loving your work and just laying in the cut, you know?
Loving yourself too much and self-doubt.
Yeah.
That middle ground is a very good thing.
Very easy to wane off that path, yeah.
Yeah, I personally find that I don't like to focus on my successes, because I don't know why. Honestly, I think it's just like maybe being the youngest, always having to like thrive up to my older brothers. Like, my success will never be to the level of their successes. So I don't really like my brother's an amazing ball player. He was supposed to play for the Blue Jays, and I was like, I sucked at ball. So it was like, for me, I was like, well, what am I good at? And then I found music one day at like 10, 11, and all of a sudden it was like, I had this thing that I was better than my brothers at.
Yeah.
So I just took that and ran with it. But I didn't realize that like that creativity and music went in different directions.
Yeah.
And now that I'm older, like, I've always loved film, but film has not become my favorite thing, and music has become my backseat.
Yeah.
As where like music has been an actual like career for me for a long time, where I've battled to make that where I can live, not comfortably, but like I'm making money when I perform versus like I'm paying money to perform.
Yeah.
So like, when I say success in the music industry, that to me is success. Like, if I'm making money when I'm performing, it doesn't have to be lots, but it's coming back and not going out. That's successful to me.
Yeah.
But with film, I can only tell so much with a song.
Yeah.
And like you, I like to tell stories, and I like to create these like imaginary realms that have reality based in them from my struggles, but you're not going to learn them unless you're breaking the metaphor.
Yeah.
That tends to push people away with music. With film, I can do these elaborate videos that bring out these emotions in people. That is almost more enjoyable to me now as I get older.
Yeah.
You also do a ton of other things on the side.
Oh yeah.
What do you do like for events? What do you do speaking events? And what kind of events?
So I do public speaking. So far I've only done it for, I did a public speaking event at Pentacon in Penticton, where I just had a room to myself and I spoke to the crowd of 4 or 5 people, which is awesome. That's 4 or 5 people that were interested in listening to my story, right? And it's just sharing my story and like the struggles that I went through, kind of just what I told you. And the idea is to inspire the next generation to potentially choose tech as a option. Doesn't always have to be trades. And now I say tech because animation is just a sector of it, right? You can do coding, you can do backgrounds, you can be the person filming, right? Like you have all these different options, and that's what I wanted. At least I hope my story gives off. One of my goals in life was to go back to my reserve and be a guest speaker there and share my story to the kids, right? And thankfully last year I was able to do that, which was so cool. I mean, I thought it was going bad, but then at the end of it, like all these kids came running up to me and were like, "Oh yeah," asked me all these questions, and of course I had stickers because I make stickers all the time, right? And they just, I felt like I was like a zebra, and they were all just hyenas trying to rip my corpse apart, right? But I just take these, and it was a really cool experience, and it didn't fill the ego in me. It filled that void in myself that little version of me needed to see. Like I needed to see someone who looked like me making these things, and I need to know that a person did that looked like them. That makes sense. Yeah. I wanted to see me in growing up, and it felt a little healing for that kid version of me. And thankfully, next year in end of January, I'll be heading back to my reserve for my first workshop. So I'll be teaching them about animation, behind the scenes look at what goes into making a show, an episode, post-it notes, animation, and I'm thinking stop motion, just to touch on that a little bit. But it's a 2-day course. It's gonna be, I hope it goes well. I'm sure it will. Yeah.
I love that. Have you done anything locally?
Just the Penticton one. I haven't really tried to reach out to anybody because I don't know how or who to.
Okay.
Actually just reached out to, last night I did an application for, what the heck is it called? It's at the Delta Grand next year. It's with the city of Kelowna, and it's a public speaking event. And I applied for that. I can't remember what it's called, but that one.
Have you ever done, I should ask, have you ever thought about doing courses locally for like just specific indigenous, like the schools and like
that's
the kids?
Kind of the goal. Like I want to go there and do that. Again, like I'm still at my infancy in this part. Mm-hmm. So
like, is that what you think, like as you grow and you're an animator, that's who you are. But like me, I'm a musician, but my purpose is more than that.
Yeah.
That was just to help me get to where I can speak the purpose.
Yeah.
I feel like just hearing your story and speaking with you and your passion is like, you're the one who's supposed to go and inspire this next generation. Yeah. There is no one else but you in my mind. Like you have the background, you have the history, you have the drive. And I think like you doing it back at home, especially like, I don't think a lot of people understand like the provinces, the way their reserves are run is also quite different.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Okanagan have really good bands.
Yeah.
The West Kelowna band is extremely good with what they do, and there's a lot of disconnect throughout the country. So when when I was growing up, living on the reserve, there in my mind it was the Penticton Reserve, right, which didn't have a lot of support for the youth. So the youth would do a lot of negative things, and it's if they're given that outlet.
Yeah.
So much can change, and it's just like it just needs that one person to stand in the mosh pit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the wall of death comes, and it's like you are that one person who's
Elbows
standing.
up.
Yeah, you're the
Yeah.
one person who's standing there, and it's like I get goosebumps listening to your story because like I can relate and understand because I grew up with friends who are indigenous, so I've physically seen the pain that they go through.
Yeah.
Just trying to go to school, not even trying to like come up with just to get up to go to school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like it's super inspiring to hear your story. And I have friends from Saskatchewan, and Saskatchewan's not an easy province.
Yeah.
It's, if not Manitoba and Saskatchewan are the two hardest in my mind.
Yeah,
and to see such a success story come out of there and to come back and inspire another generation is like,
Yeah.
that's what it is. That's the whole point of being a creative.
Yeah. I used to say this. When Chief Ahtahkakoop, the guy my reserve's named after, he signed the treaties for Treaty 6. He was part of the guys who did it. When he signed it, he left a quote saying, "Let us not think of ourselves, but let us think of our children's children." I understood that before I had kids. I knew what it meant, but then I had kids, and it really made me realize, like, I need to focus more on a movement of inspiring the next generation. Also, there was oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't bring this up. In 2019, I was part of a study out of Vancouver. This company called True Calling did a thing where they're finding how many minorities worked within the tech sector. I was part of that study, and in a data pool of 4,000 people, 0.07% identified as indigenous. So it worked out to being like 20 or 19 people. My math's not that great, but 20 or 19 people in a data pool of 4,000 in BC alone identified as indigenous. Me being one of them. And knowing how many people are within BC, that shocked me. Like it kind of lit a fire in me to like just try sharing my story, because like, what's the worst going to happen? That percentage goes up. Thankfully, it's been going up gradually every year, but in 2020, it went up to 1.5%, I believe. So now we're in the 1%, which is pretty cool. And I like to think I had a little bit of something to do with that, but I don't know.
You
Sorry.
100% had to have, and that is quite shocking because there's like 7 million people in BC, and like 4 million of that is just in Vancouver area, the surrounding area, and the rest is spread out through all of BC.
Yeah,
that is quite mind blowing. Especially, I also feel like because we're the far west, like we're still the Wild West.
Yeah,
like BC, Alaska, that's the Wild West in my mind. So it's left because there's so much land that's not. It's so like underdeveloped.
Yeah.
In BC versus the rest of the provinces. It's kind of mind blowing.
One of my biggest goals, I have a bunch of. I'm very goal oriented, and
you have to be. I feel like that's where I relate to is, like I've got a million goals, and it's just to keep my mind focused.
Yeah, and it's always come up in like interviews that I've done. It's like one of them is doing a tour across Canada, speaking at different reserves and sharing my story. But the one thing I want to do more is like go way up north into Northwest Territories and those reserves that are rarely seen, like people fly to, and that's what I want to go to and speak to those kids, because it's got to be so isolating being up there, and I'm sure they make it work, but like I just want to, again, like they could do that too. And within the digital age, if they have internet, I mean, you can definitely do it. Yeah, it's just I'm at the point now where I think I'm ready for it. I've told my story enough times that I can. It's kind of like doing a stand-up bit, right? Like I know the parts that hit, and I need to focus on those. I think I got it down. Yeah, I think I wasn't confident last year because it was just the start of it, and now I'm just like, okay, I'm getting old. There's other things I want to do too, but this right now I need to be my focus. So.
How old are you?
38.
So you're not that old.
Well, I thought that, but the life expectancy age of males is now 77 years old, and the midlife for males is 38.
Man, it sucks to be honest.
Midlife crisis,
I still feel
baby.
like I'm
Yeah.
20, even though my back says
I know.
otherwise.
I always say I'm a high functioning man child.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think it's just the age range. I think like a quote that I like. I used to do this like U-brewing when I lived in Vernon, and I had this one client that I'd always sit down and have a nice glass of wine with, and he was this old gentleman. And one day he just told me, he's like, you know what? You have to grow old, but you don't have to grow up. Mm-hmm. And it has always stuck with me that I'm like, yeah, like I'll grow in age, but like mentally, I'm always going to be that like 22, 25-year-old Rob who's high energy. Like I may have calmed down a bit in my 30s, but like I'm just hitting, in my mind, I'm just hitting my prime. Mm-hmm. Like it took me the 35 years to get through all my struggles to get to where I'm at and capable of being like, hey, now what do I want to accomplish? Yeah. And it took me a long 12 years prior of self-doubt being like, I'm not where I need to be. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was 30 that I was like, I kind of got to give up that. There is no like expectation of what I'm supposed to do other than just to be me. Yeah. And now as a parent, like you said, it kind of changes and you start to think like, legacy. That is just a weird thing to think about, but it is, you don't think of a legacy until you have children, and then you realize like that thing has my name, and I've got to make sure that thing's name isn't ruined when it's older, and so it's like trying to create and build that foundation when you never really had that foundation is like you're gonna make. And I had an interview with DJ Thistle, and like he said, he's a parent and. Like you're gonna make mistakes, and unfortunately, all those mistakes are gonna be when they're young. Luckily, that's all when they're young, and you can still grow past it. But it's like I often think daily, like because I'm so focused on trying to build a future for them, and I'm not focused on the current. I'm like, am I being a bad parent because now I'm neglecting? When it was like so it's like a very fine line of like, how do you play that game properly without like thinking yourself negative on yourself as a parent. I'm like, I struggle with it daily because I'm like, man, there's so much to do and so much I want to do with them, but to give them that future, it's like then you start to realize like that's why our upbringing was the way it was, because it is not easy.
Yeah, I mean, tons of variables. One, who are you with your kids? Who are you without your kids? Am I still me with my kids? Am I still me without my kids? Failure is the biggest part of life. I feel like you fail more than you will succeed, especially when it comes to parenting. I fail every single day with my kids. But the thing I try to change the most is after I apologize for my failures, I try to change. It doesn't happen all the time. It won't happen all the time. But to acknowledge it is to understand that this little person sees you as a hero regardless of what you do wrong. And going back to feeling like a kid in a male 38-year-old's body, right? You get to be that little kid still with them. You get to like tap into that childhood version of yourself when you're like playing games with them or like action figures and stuff. It's wild experience having kids, and it's very eye-opening. It makes you so introspective because you want the best for them and you want the best for yourself, so you can be the better version for them. Yeah, wild.
There's a lot of like things that I relate to, and it's great to sit down with somebody who's so like-minded because it isn't easy. And I think like the fact that you get to make animations too. Like, have you ever thought of doing a show for your kids? Or for kids by yourself, like you taking on that whole project yourself? Yeah,
it's so daunting, and I'm so like we're creatives, right? So we're always thinking about what could be. I have behind me there's like a bunch of post-it notes, and that's like a storyline that I was writing about. It was definitely gonna be a cartoon, but it's like about me going back to the reserve and my younger version of myself. But it's just showing, I wanted it to show what it is really like on the reserve, in cartoon form. I'm still working on that one. I have 3 other pitches that I'm working on that might be shorts. And yeah, I have been working on things to show them, but it's just, that part's hard because I know what goes into it, and I, having worked in the industry, I need to apply for things and look for funding and stuff like that, and that's what I'm working on now too, because I there's like a point that happened this year where I realized, like, oh hey, there's funding out there. Why don't I start like developing ideas and actually pushing them towards getting pitched, or not pitched, getting funding for, because I'm not getting any younger, and there's still things I want to do. Those are some of the things I want to do, and I want to leave my mark on that industry too. So
I just had a weird thought. Have you ever thought of making, don't take the pun terribly, but Ahtahkakoop?
sorry,
Like Ahtahkakoop, like anime, but in indigenous
Oh,
art
yeah.
form. Like making your own form of anime using your style, because anime inspired you, but like making it indigenous art styled, where it has like the designs that are always put into the artwork.
there are a few people I follow on Instagram that, well, a few, like there's like 4 people that I know that are indigenous animators, and they're definitely on the precipice of doing something like that. As for me, I think I want to do something simple, like simple cells for me. So I think I'm gonna like do. I've since moved away from drawing specifically anime to just drawing
Anything.
characters, right?
Yeah.
So like my style is basically just robots, tiny robots, and intricate line work. Because I have fun with that. When I have to like really focus on like being a perfectionist, I lose the passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just draw what I want to draw, I feel like it looks cool, and I feel like it draws people in, I believe.
I think that's cool. I just had like the thought of just like pop in my head, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that'd be a really cool thing to see, is like
I'm
an
gonna steal your-
indigenous
I'm gonna
anime,
steal your idea.
right? Indigenous anime where like when instead of like turning into like Power Rangers, they turn into like specific animals, like
Yeah.
like the Thunderbird is
Well,
one of theirs. And
There's a
like,
show like that already. It's Spirit Rangers on Netflix. My
Oh,
kids
is
watch
there?
it. Yeah.
cool.
They turn into like Thunderbird and things like that. Really cool.
Do they
production.
dive into the history
Yes.
of it? That's so
So,
cool.
yeah, it's
See,
actually
like I
really
love
cool.
that. That makes me happy, because like I've only admitted it to Winona Paul in our interview, but like I've always been obsessed with indigenous culture
Mm-hmm.
and the way it is. I find powwows are absolutely beautiful, and
Mm-hmm.
there's something about listening to the drum and the singing that like you cannot replicate in music. And as a musician, I'm like, that and Middle Eastern singing
Yeah.
are my 2 favorite styles of music. And as like, I mean, I may be Indonesian, but like the Irish and the Bavarian me definitely shows, you know what I mean? But it's like, I've always been like very guilty to, or like ashamed to admit that like I'm so obsessed with the culture, because it is beautiful, and I hate the fact that it kind of was suppressed for so long.
Yeah.
And now to see it thriving and coming out in Canada just makes me so happy.
Yeah, and that's actually brings me to a point of sharing success. I believe that sharing success is only a positive thing, especially when it comes to Indigenous people. I love seeing people share their work, share their successes. And that's something I will share to the end of my days, because I want people to see other people's success. Because in a sense, you're living in a small town, and say like you have a guy who makes it big and becomes like an actor or something like that. There's a sense of community that feels like they're part of that, and you feel like if they're successful, that's our success. Not so much to take their success from them, but to like, look, Jimmy
Almost
down
like
the street.
we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's Penticton with Shane Koizan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I
Growing
love
up
Shane.
watching Shane go from the Hog's Breath, a tiny little coffee shop downtown Penticton, to opening for the Dalai Lama on a world tour.
So wild, dude. Yeah.
Like I got my full body goosebumps. And like I've always wanted to sit and talk to Shane, but he's very like doesn't like to be
know.
the center of attention. He's a very shy guy. So that is the one interview I've always wanted to do, and I'm gonna keep bugging him until he gives it to me. Shane, give me the interview.
I met him once actually.
He's an amazing person.
Yeah. I met him in Penticton actually.
There's a lot of high priority people that have come out of the Okanagan. I don't think people realize, because they've moved away, but they're like my buddy Travis, like Travis Little T. He's like He's been in like Marley and Me and stuff, but he's done music videos and songs with Snoop Dogg, and he's just like, he himself has been in the industry for so long that you forget that he's from Penticton, and it's like, I think he was pretty much one of the producers for the last, what is that called? Those horror movies we grew up with, the truck.
Goosebumps?
No, the truck where the log came flying at you and everyone was always scared of that. Final Destination.
Yeah.
So he was part of the new Final Destination. So he went from like working from like Penticton as an actor all the way up to now he's like one of the producers.
Yeah.
And it's just cool to see like as we grow, the people that we grew up with and their success, like you said, sharing it. Like my buddy Jalil is somebody who I've always really looked up to because he is not only hard worker, he is extremely intelligent and caring, but like him as a videographer and photographer has always been like blown my mind. And now he just produced the last 4 Mercules music videos.
Oh, Mercules,
so his new company Barricade is just like taking off, and I'm like, we're naturally taught to be like, I wish that was me. And I'm like, I watch his success and I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah.
Not to the level because he is a way better video maker and like, but to see like somebody I know personally making it further in life really makes me like want to push myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what I always say this, like it's our duty as creatives to inspire the next generation.
Yes.
And I think that that's like why I really like your story is because you've went from crazy struggle to like building this success where you're like, all right, but I'm not happy with it because there's like it's like me, there's no message. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time with music, I was making music that people liked, but I didn't have anything to say until recently where everything politically going on has really inspired me to be like, I think prior to the pandemic, we had this mentality, but it was very like 99 versus the 1%.
Yeah. And
post-pandemic, it's the left versus the right. So I'm like, okay, let's step back and remember that it's us collectively versus like the ones that are ruining the world, right? So like that message and me starting to say that to the crowd when I'm performing, the connect with the band has been a lot more because people who feel like they're not included or are maybe being suppressed, they hear that and they're like, I'm with you. And I physically saw this happen in Vancouver where I was like, I said that the first time on stage and one person at the back who was just like, at the end of the show, they came up, they're like, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And I was like, to use your voice is what matters. And sometimes it's going to be controversial. Yeah. Controversy pushes progress.
Yeah. And also, you've built a community. You have your community. Mm-hmm. You're evolving with your community, and they're seeing that, and they feel like they're part of that movement that you're pushing, right?
Yeah. And
that is infectious. When you see people do stuff like that, evolving their work, you're not staying stagnant. You're evolving, and I feel like human evolution is mandatory in the creative field. If you're not evolving your craft, then you're going to get stagnant. 8 years in, you're going to start wondering, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. And
we touched it before the camera was on, so I got 2 questions left because we're at about an hour now.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take too much of your time. Your industry, how has it been since the emergence of AI in the last couple of years? Have you been... We were talking about it briefly, but I'm like, I've always wanted to dive into it with an animator.
Yeah, so when AI first started like kicking off, really, I wasn't too scared. I was like, no, it can't do hands. Mm-hmm. We could barely do hands. But since it's been updating itself every year, holy smokes, it's only getting better, and now it's doing 2D animation. Not competently, but we thought the same thing about hands, right? There's a little bit of worry there, but at the same time, there's a movement of pushback because people want human interaction, human emotion within the work that they're being sold, right? Mm-hmm. When you see AI slop, you know it.
Yep.
And it doesn't it feels wrong. And my daughter has been a big proponent of understanding that because she'll see it and she'll be like, is that AI? But I can feel there's
That resistance.
She knows. She knows that there's no heart and soul behind what she's seeing, and that's not me telling her like that's AI. It's her figuring it out for herself, which
because she sees you as an animator doing it.
Yeah.
And then she sees what the computer is doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As for the industry as itself, being in one sector of the industry, I only see the animation work, but what I'm hearing is a lot of certain jobs are being taken over by it. So like, at least when it comes to big corporations, I think they want to save money and time. And if they can do that, they will, right? So like backgrounds, amazing background artists I've seen in my whole career. What AI can do is just, it's kind of ruining that industry. It already did with logo animation, logo design especially. Like how do you compete with someone who is like a mom and pop shop who needs a logo, but they can't afford to pay someone to do it when they can just put it into AI and they have a logo.
Yeah.
You can tell what AI logo it is, right? Yeah, it's just, I feel like we're all just in this waiting game of what is it going to do next. And that's what it feels like right now.
I feel like all of the creative industries are.
Yeah.
And all of us kind of feel that there's like, it'll hit a limit where it won't be able to progress further.
It's starting to like,
I mean?
yeah, it's starting to eat itself is what it's
yeah,
doing.
and that's naturally what's going to happen as a program. Because programs are going to have viruses and flaws, and they're not going to work all the time. They need to be updated, but you can't beat that genuine, authentic soul. And that's one thing that I like to bring up. That's why I tend to bring up the AI topic. It's not because like I'm trying to clown on it at all, but it's like to get perspectives on it. Because like me personally, as an artist, I'm like, I think it comes from a musician's perspective too, because like a lot of people may hate me for it, but like as an artist whose my creative outlet is music, I don't want to have to focus on making video content to push my music, or relying on like AI songs. Like music is what it is, and at the end of the day, there's so many facets to being a musician. Where you need artwork, you need posters, you need all these different elements that you can't do by yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, like writing, if I want to write a bio, I'm not going to spend 4 hours writing a bio. I'll type in my ideas to ChatGPT and then take what it says and reword that in my own words, because I'm just like, I'm not thinking of grammar. I'm terrible with grammar. That has so much pushback from people in the music industry, even just using it to that extent. So I like to talk about it because it is a very like varying opinions, and some people are heavily for it. And I've met artists who are like, yeah, I use it to get inspiration for a painting, and then I take that. And I'm like, if you're using it in the proper form where it's like a tool to help you and you're not just being lazy to get a job done, I think that it's a valuable thing. But it's like you're just using it to like, I need a logo, give me a logo. And then you use that logo, that's a no-no.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I was wearing my shirt, because like I had an image for my hip-hop shirt. I wanted a trash panda, but I wanted him to be like hip-hop, metal-oriented, and I couldn't physically put that down to give to an artist without it being scratched. So I asked a ChatGPT to give me an idea of what it would look like, and then I sent that to an artist and told him, okay, this is AI. I want you to do it by hand. And I paid Mo Dirt, he's blowing up right now with his artwork, which is really funny because he does these like crossovers of like Beavis and Butthead with like King of the Hill, and for some reason they're just blowing up. But he did the artwork for me. I paid the artist to do the logo for me, and I still feel like that's more authentic and genuine than...
I feel like that case, I feel like that's fine, because like you're still paying the artist. You have the idea.
What I mean, like sometimes it's beneficial to use that to get that concept out.
Yeah, it's hard to like sometimes get the idea out, and
it's like I can't draw, I can't paint. So for me, it's like I can talk an idea to you all day, but it's not like as artists they like to visually see something.
Yeah.
So like, oh, okay, I can go this way, that direction. So for me, it's like it is a valuable thing, but it is cool. It's weird to hear how the different sectors of art is being affected by it.
I will say that the writing part of it is kind of it's kind of a weird situation because I know I have a couple of writer friends, and it's all just building off of stolen work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, like, I use it for, again, like writing. Like, I'm dyslexic, and I'm pretty sure I'm like not that great. I know I'm not that great at grammar. But I write out what I'm going to say,
Mm-hmm.
and because of my dyslexia, it's like one point, and then the other point will be down at the bottom when it should be up there, and it's just like, it's really messy. I'm like, hey, can you fix this? Fix the grammar on this, and it just like places things where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
It just helps me align my thoughts properly. Now I don't use it for like writing my stories or anything like that, because I feel like that should be, you should own that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will, going further on that point, people who live on reserves and stuff like that, I know for a fact, for me, when I was growing up, writing these applications and applying for bursaries and stuff like that, just getting the paperwork and writing my name, easy. Everything after that, super difficult. Just doing that is so daunting that most people will stop. A lot of people do stop at those points. And in that sense, I feel like ChatGPT is helpful because it helps. It's a barrier. There's a barrier for people on the reserves, from my perspective. And this helps break that barrier down and makes it a bit easier for them. I did try something that was actually kind of fun. With my daughter, we drew out musical notes just on a piece of paper, took a picture of it, and I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, can you play these sounds? And it played the sounds. So she's getting an understanding of what the notes are. Not so much she's going to make a song, right? But she knows that these notes make something, right? So now this inspires her brain to be like, okay, well, maybe I should start learning about music and understanding what these notes actually are. Like,
and then you start diving into the science of music and understanding.
Yeah. So there are benefits to ChatGPT, and there are not benefits. I can't think of the word, but
I think that's where there's that's the duality of everything in
yes,
life, right? Like, and that's kind of where I was saying, is like, if you're using it to destroy the world, obviously it's a bad thing. But if you're using it to educate and help, push thought, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
My final question, which I like to ask, this has always been since my company started during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We started as a podcast, basically just talking to bands across the world.
Yeah.
This was the same final question I've always asked everyone since my original podcast, and it's because every answer is different, and you get the best advice, and that is, if you were to give an aspiring animator, artist, advice as how they could start their career based off of your knowledge, what would it be?
1 second.
Sip of coffee.
Make your bed. Every day, make your bed. For both the reason of understanding structure and discipline. And if you are ever in a depressive state or a state of like an ADHD freeze, just get out of bed and make your bed. That's the first step. And if that's all you can do for the day, that's fine. You had one success. How it transfers to getting into the industry. Understand your fundamentals of whatever craft you're going for. It helps you make a checklist. You understand, like, again, discipline, right? It's very hard to stay with that discipline, but always fall back to making your bed. Okay, I have a checklist of things that I need to do before I submit a demo reel. I have to have my vision of what my arcs are, overlapping action, overshoot and settle, lip sync. Your checklist is there. It's there. I've got it. Submit it. If I get the job, I get the job. If I don't, come back again, make your bed, start over. Small goals. Just submitting your demo reel is a goal in itself. You did it. You got to that point. Yeah, it sounds really simple and like it might not be helpful, but if you think about it fundamentally, what it is just discipline. And you could say, I'll make all the coffee in the world to get into this job, but if you don't have the fundamentals and an understanding of what the fundamentals are, then I don't know if it will show to the employer. And then the other thing would be passion. If you've listened or heard my story in any of this, I've constantly said passion. There can be overbearing passion and there can be underbearing passion. You have to find right in the cut. Where is that? What is that? Who am I within that realm of passion? I feel like those two things are the biggest things you need to have. If that makes sense.
No, it totally does. And I think it's a valuable point because it may sound simple in terminology of just make your bed, but it is. It's based on discipline and teaching yourself how to not sleep in, wake up at 5 o'clock and think of like, hey, if this is going to be my career and I want to build a career off of it, I got to treat it such. Yeah. It's not just going to come. Like, you have to treat everything like a job in life if you want to be successful at it. So if you want to be an animator, you got to animate.
Yeah.
you got to get good at your craft before you can move forward. But to just believing in yourself is I think is a very valuable thing.
Oh, fail.
Yeah.
Constantly fail. You're going to fail regardless. So get used to it. Understand from your failure. I've seen tons of juniors get into the industry, get a laundry list of revisions, do them, but never learn from them. They constantly keep making those mistakes, and then you eventually make too many mistakes. You get called into the office, talked about your mistakes. You need to change this. Nothing changes. Half the time they won't get a renew for a contract that's coming up, right? Because they want to see evolution. You want to see that a junior is there that wants to be there, not someone who's just there to like, just to say you're an animator. You know, there's way more to it than that.
Well, Harley, I want to thank you for having me and
thank you.
Your story. It's absolutely inspiring, and I've done, I want to say, for these shows at least 50, and this is probably one of my top 3 most inspirational ones for people who have made it from rock bottom to like rock star.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you reached out to Storyhive, because this is a story that as soon as I read it, I was like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Like the other thing is just understanding like praise and accepting it. Growing up, you're not really used to getting that at all. So it's just as you're older, like when people tell you that, you're like, but now I'm like, yeah, that feels good. Like, I am successful. I don't need all the money in the world to be successful. My 2 kids are happy every single day, and that's what success is to me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks.
And I can't wait to see what you do in the next year with the public speaking, because I think that's definitely going to be like, where you can make yourself as like the next or the first indigenous Shane Koizen for Inspiring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, that's how I see it. Like, it's your story, your passion, the
way
way you articulate yourself. You're a well-collected person, and
thank you. Yeah.
It was really, truly a pleasure to meet you. So
thank you. I'm gonna be the next Tim Robbins, Harley Robbins.
Yeah. And I want to thank you guys for coming by. If you'd like to be on the show, there will be a QR code at the bottom of the screen that you can scan, and it'll take you to a form. Just follow the form, and we'll get through that together as a team. And I'm Rob O'Day. This has been On Location Kelowna, and we'll see you next time.